What's up, everybody? I'm David Hain. Welcome to episode 20 of the A to D From Addict to Disciple podcast. I'd like to give a big shout out to the new listeners following us from the Seychelles. That brings our total listeners to 25 countries. I had an awesome opportunity a couple of days ago to participate in a Q&A session on addiction with a group from Gauteng, South Africa. It was an hour-long live session on WhatsApp. I had so much fun. I want to offer the opportunity to all of my listeners in any country. If you'd like to get a few friends or family members together for a Zoom or live WhatsApp session on addiction awareness, I'm more than happy to sit in and answer any of your questions. Simply go to my website, www.fromatod.org, click on the contact button, and send me a message. Thanks. When we come back, we'll begin our interview with Pastor Larry Arnold from Atlanta, Georgia. Well, today I'd like to introduce a dear friend from many years ago who came up to spend some time with our family in Philadelphia on street outreach. Pastor Larry Arnold, who's the pastor of Eagles Nest Community Church down in Atlanta, Georgia. Larry, it's great to talk to you again. Welcome on board.
Thank you so much, Dave. It's good to be on board, and I'm just glad to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you. So today we're going to talk about alcoholism and specifically your involvement with it there in the Atlanta area. So how would you describe the street alcoholics that you had surrounding Eagles Nest when you first started out down there in downtown Atlanta?
Well, Dave, most of the street people that I dealt with in Atlanta, in my area, and that was the drug of choice, alcohol. And probably the reason why is I think a lot of time the breweries and the beverage companies target inner city people. I think that when you go into some of these quick convenience stores, you got all these barrels of alcohol sitting out front. And I think that they target them with the malt liquor type stuff, King Cobra and some of those hardcore beers, malt liquors. And so I think a lot of our guys and women was hooked on that because it was cheap and you get big cans, and they spend their whole day just searching for ways to come up with enough money to buy alcohol, and in turn they just kind of lose hope on anything else because the alcohol is to them, it was just so addictive that it was troubling to ever try to break free of it. And so what I see happen is it's a certain brand sold in the inner city. It's not sold that much on the north side. Or some of the more influent areas, but they're sold in the inner city, and to me, they're targeting alcoholics. They're targeting people who cannot control their drinking, and I really think that's exactly what they want to do because that's their customer base in the inner city. And we'll say homeless and poor, but I would like to see the amount of money that's being made off of poor people through selling those kind of products.
That would be an interesting study to check out for sure. And you mentioned the homeless, and what do you see as the connection between the alcoholism with this King Cobra or whatever the beer of the day, so to speak, is? Back in my day, the one you're describing for the inner city one would have been Colt 45. What do you see as the connection between alcoholism and homelessness?
Well, one thing, it's a quick high and it's a cheap high. And once they get hooked and addicted to it, it kind of it's like they lose all will to do anything else. It becomes that it becomes all they want to do. Alcohol to them is something that it becomes their best friend. They fall in love with it. They can't function. I mean, they fall in love with it. They feel that alcohol don't ask them no questions. They can just, curl up with it. They become, it don't challenge them. It just allow them to roll over and just, drift away from life and don't care anymore. And so that's an easy way for them to live, but it's devastating to them.
Yeah, it's an easy way to live, but there's no life in it at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so how do you walk into that? How do you, approach a couple of guys hanging out on the pavement or on the street corners, just getting drunk every day, sun up to sundown, curling up on the sidewalk to sleep or in the parks or whatever? How do you approach them? Where do you begin to even reach out to them?
My way of doing things is building a relationship with people like that. Spend time talking to them, give them responsibility, constantly letting them know that they can come out of this with the help of God. They can come out of this and be a productive citizen. So that was my approach.
Yeah, so it sounds like you established relationship through showing love and being an encourager and being someone who brought hope, but also you were willing to take the risk to trust them a bit to be able to pour into these men.
Most of these guys, I think, have some deeper hidden issues that alcohol is just the cover for it. And unless we get at the root of what's really bothering you, what's really eating you, a lot of times it's family issues. Somewhere down the line they got hurt, or somewhere back in their lives they was molested. This guy his mother worked in the club, and he was a little bitty boy, probably in elementary school. And at night, his mother came home and brought guys with her, and they would drink beer at night. And he would get up in the morning when it's time to go to school, and it might be a half a can of beer left or just some suds. And he would take them cans he saw sitting on the coffee table and suck the suds out of those cans. And even at the age of 9, 10 years old, the teachers thought he was sick, but he was drunk.
Wow.
He started alcohol that early. And so what I found out is if you talk to people who are struggling with addiction, there's something behind the alcohol. There's something behind the drug. There's something behind the addiction. I know you know this just probably better than I do. And you have to get at the root of what's really going on. And the alcohol and the drugs become a covering for what's really hurting them. And you got to get at that pain. Sometimes it's just as simple as forgiving somebody who hurt you in the past.
Yes. Yeah, that's one of the things that is really at the core of what we do with A2D, and that is getting at that root. Because if you don't expose that root and get some healing into the root, then the alcohol or the drugs or whatever it is still going to be their medicine.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Dave.
Alcoholics hesitate to take advantage of rehabs and programs, or hesitate to get into homeless shelters, get off the streets, get involved with AA. What do you think keeps them from taking those steps?
I think the main issue would be fear. fear of the unknown, just fear of being sober, just fear of knowing how their life is going to be without alcohol or without the drug of their choice. I think a lot of it is just fear and probably being confined, not being able to do what they want to do, having the no discipline in their lives, so they just kind of like float, and they don't want to give that up. And so when you're talking about putting structure in their lives and you're putting discipline in their lives, it become a way. They fear that. They run from it because now they got to give up, I think, what they love more than anything else. I mean, even they've lost families, they've lost friends, they've lost jobs because of that affair they have with that addiction.
Yeah, I know. When alcohol becomes your lover, your comforter, it's always there waiting for you to curl up. It's always there with no questions, no demands, just open arms, welcoming to bring you the comfort and the warmth that you're looking for.
Amen. That's exactly right, Dave. And I know that they don't want to lose that love affair they have with that addiction. And it scares them to death sometimes to think about that they're going to wake up and not be able to drink. And that's, what alcohol does for you, does to you, 2 or 3 days, if you go without it, you start having all these negative reactions. And so when they try to cold turkey, it's a violent reaction to it. And they fear that also. They fear that because if they're not under some kind of medical supervision, it could be a tough time trying to cold turkey. And once they try it 1 or 2 times and they have to go through that reaction to it, they don't want to do it anymore. So the alcohol is the only thing to keep that from happening because their body is still craving alcohol.
Yeah, it's like a double-edged sword that, the alcohol has caused the pain in their life and in their body. But to the best of their understanding, alcohol is the only thing that can soothe that pain when it sets in.
Right. Dave, I think, but it's just like the alcohol. They're in love with that alcohol. And so I just feel like we have to work. I know I do, at getting them to that point. And that's not going to be easy. That's not going to be easy because you're fighting the enemy. You're fighting the devil because he don't want them to get there. I look at it like this way. When one of these guys change, when they get their act together, they can do a whole lot more damage to the kingdom of darkness than someone who's never been there before.
That's right.
These guys know all the ins and outs, and they can really do a great deal of helping others because they know, and that's why the enemy fight them tooth and nail to keep them from getting to that point, because he knows now that God will have a powerful weapon in his hand if you get a recovering addict on the right track.
Amen. Amen. And it's interesting that you mentioned about how do we get them to take that step, and you talked about your heart for them and your ways of establishing relationship, which I think is amazing. And I just need to pat you on the back and give you a hug for all of your heart that you've poured out into the streets of Atlanta.
People need help to get. I have drug addicts tell me all the time, Rev, do you think I wake up every morning and want to be laying out on the streets? Do you think that I wake up and don't know where I am, foaming at the mouth, throwing up? Do you think I enjoy this? Don't you think I want to get off this? I just don't know how to do it. And that spoke volumes to me, Dave, that I don't think nobody planned in life that they're going to go off and become an alcoholic. That's going to be my occupation. I'm going to be an alcoholic. And I can just lay out in the street and foam at the mouth and throw up on myself and get kicked in them. Lay on the sidewalks and people walking by disrespect me. Nobody asked for that. I don't
No.
think many addicts ask for that. Many alcoholics ask for that, but they get caught up in things that go deeper than we understand. And that's why we have to be patient. We have to be loving. We have to try to work with them. We got to be just like Jesus. We got to be long suffering. We got to be, and I mean, you don't let them run over you. You got to be strong, but at the same time, you gotta give them hope, because the reason why they let alcohol is the only other thing that would give them hope. And if we don't have hope as people, as churches, the church community should play a bigger role in what they're playing in this. The church community, the government, people have to play a role in helping these people turn their lives around. And that's happening a little bit now, because people are finding out their sons, the rich folks, the well-off people, the politicians, the educated people are finding out it's happening to their children too.
Yes.
And so now they're beginning to see the value of rehabilitation and turning people's lives back around again.
Yeah. Well, that's a powerful point to close on. I hope all our listeners can grab a hold of that we need to be people of hope. We need to be willing to take that risk and approach it with a sense of urgency, because these are our friends, our neighbors, our family, our loved ones, and we need to view strangers the same way.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Dave.
Awesome today talking to you. I want to thank you for your time. And do you have any closing thought you'd like to share?
Yeah, Dave, I just want to, I want to thank you, man, because a lot of the things I learned early about addiction and about homeless people, and I learned from you, man. I learned from you. You taught me so much that I'll never forget. That weekend, at that time, I was in Philadelphia with you, working the streets of Philadelphia. And it's going to take people like yourself, and that we got to connect people back to the Creator. People got to know that God is the source of life, and they can change. They can change. They can turn it around with the help of the Almighty. They can turn their situation around and become the productive citizen that they was meant to be. So I'm just saying to everyone out there, don't lose hope, man. Don't give up. I don't care how many times you get knocked. A fighter doesn't lose a fight because he get knocked down. He loses because he refused to get up or can't get up. So as long as you can get up, you got to get up and keep getting up and bouncing back until one day you get up and you're going to stand.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the A to D from Addict to Disciple podcast. I hope everyone has a deeper understanding of the snare of alcoholism around the world. Tune in Monday for our next episode as we look at one man's journey from addict to disciple with my good friend Noble Ramsey. If you'd like to contact me regarding speaking engagements, addiction coaching or consulting, or to utilize the From A to D curriculum and podcasts in your location, go on my website, www.fromatod.org, and click on the contact page. As always, stay safe and stay strong.